Listen, I could talk about the darts all night long. Glen Durrant, good morning to you. How are things?
Yeah, good morning to you both. How are you doing?
Keeping well. 3-time BDO World Champion, of course, and PDC Premier League Champion as well. Glen, I don't know where to start. Was that the greatest PDC World Championship final of all time?
I don't think so. I mean, it was an unbelievable game, but I don't think much would ever top the Barney versus Phil Taylor game, which was pretty epic. I mean, I go all the way back to 1989 as well, with Jockey Wilson, Eric Bristow. So there were some fabulous games, and I just think heat the moment. Sometimes you think it was the greatest game, but definitely the greatest leg was involved. That was pretty unbelievable to watch that live. That
leg, I mean, I don't even know where to start. Per Wayne Mardle in the commentary booth had to go and take a break for his voice sake. But have you ever seen anything like that?
No. I mean, it's honestly, as a dart player, we dream. And when you go to bed and you dream of picking up a Lakeside trophy, picking up winning Ali Pali, the Premier League, and then you dream of 180, or winning a tournament on 170. So for actually to happen was unbelievable. And I love my Twitter. And I put a tweet on about Wayne Mardle saying how good his commentary was, and I think it's had more likes than when I won the Premier League, so go figure.
Yeah, I think people were getting excited off the couch a bit like Mardle after that nine-darter happened. It was the quality as well, Glenn, of the play, because there was one stage where Michael van Gerwen was averaging 121 and he won just one leg in that set, which kind of speaks volumes as to the quality that was on show.
I think Michael van Gerwen was a little bit shocked actually, because he just was effortless throughout the tournament, and people were writing off Michael Smith, and I think no one had really hit Michael van Gerwen back this past couple of weeks. So after the first set I had my concerns, but then that just all turned on that 9-darter leg where Michael could have won with a 144, and moments like that change games. But unbelievable. To be sat at home watching it was pretty incredible, and just a wonderful final, and delighted for the bully boy.
Remarkable, and I think I was getting carried away along with Stuart Pike and John Part. They were saying it was the best darts match they've ever seen. Of course, as you said, there's a bit of recency bias potentially in there, but there was one point, I think it was the 7th set, Glenn, when Smith had a 130 checkout back from 2-0 down, and that was to go 4-3 up. Felt like a turning point.
A huge one. The 7th set as well, Van Gerwen had darts to win this set, and I said to my wife, I said, he looks drained now. And I just said he looks, and it's not often you say that about Van Gerwen because he plays, to the final whistle. But I think that 5th set and 7th set took an awful lot out of MVG, and from there, Michael Smith. Sometimes as a dart player, the only difficult thing after that is getting over that finishing line. And Michael Smith had a little bit of a wobble, but then his last 3 legs, he dipped like Colin Jackson in the 110-metre hurdles. So it was great to see.
I think at one point in that 4th set as well, there was 9 consecutive legs in favour of Michael Smith, which when you look at Michael van Gerwen's performance in the quarterfinal and semi-final and how dominant they were, not giving his opponent a set in either game, that's quite remarkable. It speaks volumes as to the levels that Michael Smith reached.
But that's an interesting statement as well, that nobody really, sometimes like in a boxing fight, if someone hits you with a left, you want to hit them with a right, and MVG all week was just jabbing his way to victory. And Michael Smith in that second, as early as the 2nd set, just threw that first big bomb, and then all of a sudden MVG just, it was just a little bit too easy for him. And sometimes you need to be battle hardened, like Smith's been over the past 17 days, and go through areas where you don't think you're going to win the match. Against Martin Schindler, he was arguably very lucky to win that game, whereas MVG just cruised his way through, and when it came down to the battle at the end, he just wasn't up to the challenge.
We were kind of speaking at the start of the show, Glenn, about that 9-darter and trying to compare it to other sports, and we've had the conversations in recent weeks. Sean Murphy, another man on Twitter, who points out the degree of difficulty. I see you shaking your head already, but 147 9-darter hole in one. Where do you stand on this whole debate?
Yeah, I'm a 100-break snooker player myself. I grew up playing a game called billiards, and we have got so many world champions from the Teesside, Middlesbrough area. So it was our sport. So obviously the transition from billiards to snooker. So I did knock in a couple of centuries in my time. Obviously I've done a few 9-darters, and pitch and putt is the only thing I've done a hole-in-one on. But I find it difficult to believe that Sean Murphy, under match conditions, I've seen him throw a dart as well, and he's decent. Like, I've seen Mark Selby throw a dart. Mark Williams throws a mean dart. But nowhere have they done a 9-darter in them sort of conditions. And I'm not having the fact he's just been at home and had a 180 because, most players will go 180 and then for fun at the 141. So I don't accept he's done the 9-darter.
Where do you stand on the difficulty level? Like, I know it's tough to compare them, and maybe in some ways it's stupid to compare them because there are three different sports, but where do you stand?
I think it's quite straightforward. I think the toughest for me is the 147. It's, the darts, obviously, the target doesn't move, and there's elements there that you can do with it's just repetition. And there's only 9 darts to throw. It's only 1 minute of excellence that you're looking at. The 147 for me is still the greatest sporting achievement I've seen, and the feeling for a hole-in-one must be just absolutely incredible. But for me, in level of difficulty, playing both sports at a reasonable standard, I would say the 147 is the most difficult.
For Smith to do it in a final as well, is quite something. I know Adrian Lewis did it, as we said, back in 2011. I saw someone in our YouTube comments this morning saying, well, was Michael van Gerwen's 17 perfect darts, where he just missed the last dart in two consecutive legs, to have 2 9-darters. But I guess last night, the way it happened, the way both players almost hit perfection, was maybe a better achievement, really.
Yeah, it's what you dream of, honestly. Like, without sort of repeating myself, it's us dart players have our dreams, and to hit a 9-darter, to become your world champion for the first time, to beat Michael van Gerwen. I mean, all his dreams come true all in one night. It was an unbelievable feat, and like I said, made very, very special by unbelievable commentary as well. It was a wonderful moment for our game that we love.
You'd almost forget that Michael Smith hit an 11-darter to win last night towards the end. There were so many crazy moments, it's hard to think back to them all, but that in itself showed balls of steel, really, for Michael Smith. Yeah,
when I won my Lakesides and Premier League, it's sometimes you can remember the odd dart here and there, but Michael Smith is someone, when he comes off and gets interviewed, was talking about leg 2 of set 2, and for me it was all a bit of a haze, but I was a very focused player, where Michael's a very, when his rhythm is good, he's beautiful to watch, and a phenomenal scorer, and he just seems to remember everything about it. If I would say something to him, and that's the beauty of social media as well. He's already watched the 9-darter a million times, he said on Twitter this morning. So it's just going to be a wonderful few weeks for him now. I mean, I think he wants to go to his beloved St Helens and hold the trophy, and I had the luxury of doing that for Middlesbrough Football Club, and they're the kind of moments to go back to your family, your friends. He's going to have an unbelievable next 7 to 14 days.
Glenn, we've been talking about the sport and the evolution of it, and the amount of money that's been pumped in, and the TV coverage, and just the general sense of growth that there has been over the last period of time. As the money becomes bigger and bigger, more and more people are going to be interested, and just naturally in all sports what we see is there's a concentration of talent. It gets better, people spend more time, they do it from earlier on in their careers. I know you're involved in coaching. Are you already seeing an uplift in the standards from the younger players now, and how quickly do you expect the acceleration at the top level to happen?
It's frightening. It's frightening, really. Honestly, it's. I feel like I'm the last bastion of the workman's club. That I was on Eggheads this year, and his first question was about beer and fat bellies, and I went on a real Jeff Stelling rant about the fact that we're playing in places like Madison Square Garden, the fact that there's academies right across the country now, and in Ireland as well, there's some wonderful, wonderful players coming through. Keane Barry will be really disappointed the way he played this year, but some of the youth players, and I'm working with you now, and I've got someone online after this from Ireland, when this interview finishes, so it's gone absolutely crazy, and when Ali Pally is on, you can see the increase, and the beauty of that is that your tools is 20 quid. You can buy a set of tungsten darts for 20 quid. And that's why it was very much a workman's sport. But Barry Hearn saw something bigger, and then when I played at the Premier League in front of 12,000 people, it was just unbelievable. It was just a real, I grew up all my life in workmen's clubs playing in front of one man and his dog, and here I am playing in front of 12,000 people, and it's £500,000 that Michael Smith won last night, plus there's 200 grand from the Grand Slam a few weeks ago. The top 8 now are millionaires. It's the evolution of darts, and it's going nowhere. Say they're off to Bahrain in a couple of weeks' time for the World Series as well, and then it's Q School. It's not all roses as well. The beauty, I can tell you now, it's wonderful at the top, but it's really, really horrible when you're down and losing games and loss of form, etc. So it's not all glamour that you see. The travelling is difficult. Trying to get that work-life balance as well is really difficult. But Barry Hearn saw a dream and he fulfilled that, and it's a wonderful sport to be involved in.
You announced your retirement from darts in effect as a player back in November, Glenn. But and you've spoken very eloquently about your fall, I guess, over the 18 months after winning the Premier League itself. How do you explain that to the layman and woman, I guess, who don't understand how you can be at such a high level, and then I guess some people, and it happens in every sport, you see a drop off.
Yeah, I don't think I have all the answers as well. I'm still trying to find them answers. But if you look at like an analogy of golf, it's like someone going to put the ball and getting the yips. It's like a centre forward being on the 6-yard line and can't score. And you sometimes just need something to come off your ankle or anything to go in there. And I was fighting away for just a couple of wins there. But for sure, my technique during lockdown began to change for whatever reason. A very funny story was my father-in-law said, "Glenn, because you're getting too fat." And then I realised, was I getting lazy in lockdown? But, I practiced 2 hours a day, every day. I didn't do an awful lot of change there, but I could definitely feel that my throw went from being quite a relaxed throw to very robotic. And then the more you lose, the more the mindset changes. And then I just struggled then to bring my arm back. And I had no confidence at all when I threw a dart. And it was pretty horrible in the end, losing to players and sometimes losing 6-0 to players you could beat. And I remember a couple of moments. I remember playing in the Premier League with no crowd, losing 7-0 to Dimitri van den Berg, ushered back to my hotel room because of COVID conditions, laid there with me dart and attire still on at the ceiling thinking, my God, tomorrow night I've got Michael van Gerwen and the night after I've got Michael Smith. So as much as we said how beautiful of a feeling it is to be a dart player, and I've had them moments when in Lakesides and Premier Leagues, the lows can be just as bad, just as bad as the highs, and I feel quite blessed in a way that I've been, I'm able to accept that I've been to the very top, and it feels like I've been at the bottom as well. And if one of the roles I want to do now is be a coach, be a mentor. And speak to people and don't make the mistakes that I did.
There's such a psychological element to it. Like, has the coaching given you a second wind? I've seen you speaking before about coaching your nephew Jamie, for example, as one of the top players coming up. That must give you some serious delight to and maybe a second wind in the game as well. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. And the moment I lost my tour card, because I haven't retired, you still hope. I don't particularly have the desire to get to the very top again, and it would seem a million miles away. But I'm playing in the World Seniors. I've got lots of exhibition work with Phil Taylor in Germany and in Ireland. So, I'm still playing darts, but I'm getting an awful lot of kick out the coaching. And, the moment I lost my card, I had 3 Pro Tour card players, wanting to come and see me in January. So already I'm dealing with players in the top 64, 32 in the world. But I really enjoy someone who walks in, can't stand, no balance, can't throw the dart, hitting big 13s, etc. And then when they leave and they're going 20, 20, 20. And I get a big kick out of that. But, coaching has been wonderful. But, if people look for instant results, it's just not there, because unless you're someone like Josh Rock, where there's just an unbelievable talent, inside of you, then just learn the fundamentals and accept the journey. And if it takes 1 year to get to the top, or for me, 41 years to get to the top. I didn't travel till I was age 41 and, won the Premier League in my 50s. So, be patient, just enjoy the game we all love.
You mentioned Middlesbrough there, Glenn. I know you're a big Borough fan, and look, you're in the playoff spots in the Championship at the minute. Things are looking well. Michael Carrick in charge as well, and I suppose from an Irish perspective, we're watching Darragh Lenihan play really well. Must be quite a difficult time for you, because you're looking at Borough's performances and they're great, but then you're watching Newcastle, your bitter rivals, and you're thinking, here, what's going on? So how do you feel about it all at the moment?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, the town is buzzing right now. I went to Blackpool away, and I really, really was impressed with the performance that we put on. Tuber Akbom is just looking absolutely unbelievable for us, and couldn't score for Toffee last year. So it's great, and it's just good that people have got a smile in the town. It's very much a community club, Middlesbrough. It's the same chairman since the 80s, Steve Gibson, and when Borough's doing well, it just feels good. And we don't need Saudi money, so stuff Newcastle. And we've got 10 toes, they've got 11.
There you go. Good stuff, Glenn. Thanks a million for joining us. Cheers.
Thank you.
It's Glen Durrant there talking to us about the darts.